So, Ria-Mae, can you briefly introduce yourself? Which tradition you are part of? Which language do you speak? We can start with that.
Sure. First off, it's a very great honor to sit here and to be able to talk with you and to talk about my people and my culture, where I come from. I come from the Dene people from the Northwest Territories, from the tribes of Dogrib and Chippewan. I did not grow up in my culture, in my ways. I grew up in the Western tradition. And so because of that, there was much that was lost for myself, but it's not an uncommon story. Many of my people have had the same. Even people who have lived in their culture and in their ways have lost almost everything. And so right now we're in a time of beginning to remember who we are, where we came from, and to receive those teachings. It was only 40 years ago that we were banned from being able to do any ceremonies. If we were caught with a sacred item or a sacred pipe, we would be put in jail. And so because of that, we are just coming out of a generational gaps where we've lost so much. And there's a lot of sharing happening in between our cultures right now to help to re-immerse the people back into the spirituality. The culture is reviving, which is good. We see that. But the spiritual part, the essence of who we are as people connected to the land, is only starting to be remembered. There are very few elders left, ones who actually hold the ancient wisdom and the ancient traditions and the understanding of it. And so we are in a race of time right now to be able to gather the informations and connect the informations. But there's more to that, because our whole philosophy of life connects to the medicine hoop, the sacred hoop of life. And with that, there are people who are born with gifts of the spiritual dimensions. And there are many of us who have very few instructors to take us through the right ways to do things, the right ceremonies. It is there, but many of the ceremonies are not being performed in a good way because of the corruptions of the mind and the corruptions of greed. And so we're in a very important time right now to be able to regain our culture.
So you spoke about the medicine hoop. Could you explain a little bit about it, how it's helping you to sustain?
Yeah, so for us, the medicine hoop is everything. It is everything. It teaches absolutely everything we need to know about life. When we are born, we come in through the sun, through the eastern direction, and this represents a period of time in our life, of our youth, of our childhood. And then as we move through the wheel, we move to the south, and the energy from the south is that next phase of life. And then as we move up the wheel towards the west, we come more into our adulthood, and then our final years as we move into the north, which is our eldership. So we begin to sustain this by healing the different areas of ourselves within that medicine hoop. So if we become injured or harmed or have lost connection to the Creator at a young age, maybe we didn't receive good parents or those types of things, our energy becomes stuck in that place and that space. And so before we can move forward through the wheel, those things have to be healed and transformed. And so we work with specific ceremonies that will connect that energy back with that person to help them to heal those things and move through it. It goes much further than that too. For us, every plant, every animal connects to some aspect of the medicine hoop. And so that medicine hoop is used to help to transform someone's life and to bring healing, not just on a spiritual level, but also on a physical and emotional and a mental level as well. And those aspects are all connected in the hoop.
About your traditions, we understood about your traditions now. What's the importance of your family values? How you are keeping a togetherness of the community, as well as the other traditions around? What's the relationship with that? Can you put us some light on that also?
Yeah, so ideally, we'd be living by the principles of the natural laws and working within the medicine hoop. Unfortunately, right now, that is not the case. There is a lot of there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. The family values are not being held the way that they used to be in the traditional way, where there is father and mother, brother, sister, grandfather, grandmother, and we all work together to raise the children and work with the children. As I said earlier, there are very few elders left, and so we are left kind of vulnerable, very vulnerable, in what is happening and what is taking place. So there are programs that we are establishing to help to make the changes necessary, and the focus right now is actually on the youth more than anything. There is a large generation, especially my generation, that is lost to drugs and alcohol. They are lost. It's overtaken many of our reservations. It's being flooded with these abuses of the soul and the sickness of the spirit. And so now we are turning to the younger generation. And this is where we're actually seeing the reemergence and the thirst and the desire to actually know who we are as a people, to reclaim our traditional values and our traditional ways. And so right now there are programs that I'm working to establish and to help with, to begin to teach the children their traditional ways and traditional values.
So we understood that the generation of yours, they are they are losing on the tradition which you have, really valuable tradition. What are the measures you are taking to pass it to your youth, the future generations? And next question would be that how your next generation is connecting with you as well as the traditions around.
Okay, so right now I'm in the process of developing a program with my brother on the Stony Nakoda Reserve. And we're going to be establishing a nonprofit organization to begin camps for youth in the summertime. And these camps will begin to teach the youth our traditional ways, but also our spiritual values. And that involves learning the ceremonies and the protocols involved with that. And so that is where we start. Right now, we can't think much further than relating to other cultures or ways to do things, but to actually just get back down to who we are as a people, and to pass on as much knowledge and information as we can in an appropriate way and in a good way. There are protocols that we have to follow, and so it's up to the elders to recognize who actually has the spirits around them to be able to transmit those energies and those informations to the next generation.
Okay. So the students who want to go for the research, what are the ways we can approach your community to further research perspective?
Yeah, so the first one is to ask. We have to do everything through a way of doing things through permissions, which is called protocol. And by asking first, and then we sit and wait. Just because you ask it doesn't mean we'll say yes. Okay. So first we do that. The next thing is that you must come and sit with the people and see how they actually conduct themselves and how we conduct ourselves in council and in ceremony. We move way slower than the modern world, and we move in a way that where we only speak words that are of utmost importance. And so we speak slower, and we take time to think before we answer. And so sometimes we don't answer because either we don't know or maybe we just don't agree. We're very humble people, and so it's difficult to really get to the core of things. And so it takes a lot of patience, and the way to approach that is to immerse yourself, see how we think, see how we conduct ourselves in community, and get an understanding of how to actually approach us in a good way. And that would go for any indigenous culture, because they're all very different, and there are different rules of how to communicate and to share. And there are many things that we want to share, but that has to be done in a way that is appropriate.